What's up, everybody? Well, with Infinity War dropping this past weekend, I've been in a Marvel mood, so I'm doing a couple of Marvel rankings. I've already ranked all of the Marvel films leading up to Infinity War. I've also ranked all of the villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now it's time to talk about the other side of the coin, the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Quick little note. I actually completely forgot to include Nebula on that list. I even said at the beginning of the video, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, and you guys are going to let me know in the comment section below. Well, before you even get a chance to correct me, I corrected myself. I forgot Nebula. Nebula would be somewhere around the middle, because I think she's a really interesting character as a villain, and I'm also not going to include her on this list just for continuity, so she would also be somewhere near the middle of this list. We haven't seen a lot of Nebula. She seems like a really interesting character. I like entertainment-wise, the relationship between her and Gamora, especially in Volume 2, which I'm not even a fan of that movie that much, where it just turns out she just has such bad sibling rivalry. That's what makes her so evil, so that shit's cool. I'm curious to see what's going to come for that character, but that's my thoughts on Nebula. So sorry that I forgot her. Nebula fans, please forgive me. Now, starting off at number 24. 24 characters to rank on this damn thing. You guys better be appreciative of this, because my throat is going to be dead after this. Number 24. The least interesting character, in my opinion, of the MCU heroes so far is Mantis. Now, Mantis is the newly addition to the Guardians of the Galaxy in Volume 2. We've seen a little bit of her in Infinity War. And to me, I just haven't gotten enough of her yet. She's the least interesting of the Guardians of the Galaxy group right now, just because I don't really think her powers are all that interesting. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of laughs from her. She's a very comedically written character. And overall, just she doesn't seem to really fit with the Guardians yet for me. Those Guardian characters all have such standout, personalities and standout performances, and the actors just embody those characters, that Mantis just kind of feels like she's tacked on a little bit, but hopefully we'll see more of her in the movies. So number 24 is going to be Mantis. Number 23 is going to be Quicksilver. Now this guy kind of got dealt a bad hand, because at the very same time that we were introduced to Quicksilver in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not too long before that we were introduced to Quicksilver in the X-Men Marvel Universe, who is about 1,000 times more interesting, more entertaining, and cooler than this version of Quicksilver. So had we not had that version of Quicksilver, I might have liked this character more, but it just felt like he was thrown in there as kind of like a fuck you to the X-Men universe. Hey, we can use this character too. And it just wasn't all that good. I didn't think that, I believe his name was Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I don't think that his performance was all that great, especially the accent side of it. The character wasn't all that interesting. Scarlet Witch is a much more interesting character for that little twin duology going on there. And the only thing I remember about this character is that he died. That's honestly it. The "you didn't see that coming" line, and then even that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyway, that line and the fact that he died is all I remember about that character. So Quicksilver, number 23. Number 22 might be a controversial pick, because a lot of people like this character. I'm not really one of them. War Machine. To me, it just feels like Iron Man light. It doesn't feel like they've given him enough to do aside from show up and help Iron Man with another suit. They did some cool things with the actual human character of Rhodey in Iron Man 3, where him and Tony were kind of doing this little buddy cop thing in the third act. But as far as just the character of War Machine, it just feels like he's just superfluous. You got Iron Man. He's the most badass of all of the, robotic suit characters that you're going to have in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. War Machine just feels like Iron Man light to me. So, haven't done enough interesting with him. Didn't think that keeping him around after Civil War was worth it. I think that it would have been a noble time for him to die, and it actually aggravated the fuck out of me, as much as I love that movie, that they didn't kill him. But War Machine. 22. Number 21, again, might be another controversial pick, because I've seen a lot of people really attached to this character, and though I got a lot of entertainment from when he first appeared in Age of Ultron, I haven't really gotten a whole lot from him since, and that's Vision. Thought the whole thing with him actually being able to wield Thor's hammer was awesome, but beyond that, it's not a character that I dislike by any means. I'm definitely interested in him, but I agree that he was going to probably die in Infinity War at some point because of the Infinity Stone, and I'm not confirming or denying whether or not that happens, but the fact that I've always thought that he was only going to be around for a couple movies kind of blocked me from attaching myself to him a little bit, I think. But beyond that, I think Paul Bettany is good as this, but I've always thought he was more entertaining as Jarvis than he was as Vision. So I know I'm probably in the minority with that, but anyway, 21 is Vision. Number 20 is going to be Hawkeye. Now, I love Jeremy Renner. I think that they could do a lot with that character if they really wanted to, but they've continuously given him the middle finger. They barely gave him anything to do in Avengers. They kind of forced something into Avengers Age of Ultron to make it seem like he was relevant with his wife at the little farmhouse and everything. and then the character's not even in Infinity War, so he just feels like a character that's in there for the sake of being in there. He really doesn't have any place, and they have a joke about it in Age of Ultron about there's aliens running around and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense why he's a part of the Avengers. Black Widow is even a stretch, but Black Widow is just badass. So Hawkeye, I like the character. I think he's entertaining. He's a good little partner for Black Widow, but they haven't given us enough of him yet. He's not the most interesting character in the world with what they've done with him, so that's why he is number 20. Number 19 is going to be Gamora. Now, I like Zoe Saldana a lot, and I like the character of Gamora, but unfortunately, what we got from her in the first Guardians of the Galaxy was interesting enough. This badass warrior chick, really hard-edged, daughter of Thanos, has this grudge against Thanos, but in the second movie just did a lot of bad stuff as far as the character moments for me and progressing these characters, but Gamora, unfortunately, was basically just reduced down to this person that Peter Quill is trying to basically convince to be in a relationship with him. That, to me, that's like what she got reduced to in that movie. You didn't really get a whole lot of drama with her. I mean, you got the cool scene with her and Nebula kind of fighting and then making up, but we just haven't really got enough of her character doing enough to stand out to me that she's easily the least interesting of the Guardians of the Galaxy core group. Obviously, Mantis is a little less interesting, but Gamora, she's okay. 19. Number 18 is going to be Doctor Strange, and it's honestly just because I'm not the biggest fan of his original movie, Doctor Strange. I think that it's decent enough. I liked it more the second time I watched it, so maybe I'll like it a little bit more the third time, but that movie was so formulaic to me that it really blocked me from enjoying it the way that a lot of people have. And the character to me just felt like another version of Tony Stark, a really arrogant shithead who suddenly has the rug pulled out from under him. He gets some powers and then he decides to be good again, but he's still kind of a snarky dickhead. So I like the interaction with him and Tony Stark in Infinity War for sure, and that's definitely the perfect pairing for those two to be hanging out with each other because it's like, you know, a rock and a hard place. But just leading up to that, I didn't get enough interesting with him. Maybe in Doctor Strange 2 or in Avengers 4, I'll start to grow a little bit more with this character, see a little bit more of him, get a little bit more entertained by him, and he'll move up this list. But for now, he's sitting right here. Number 17 is the other twin, Scarlet Witch. Now, not only is Elizabeth Olsen gorgeous, so that's going to bring up a couple of points. Sorry, I'm just being honest. But I think the character is actually pretty interesting. I think that her powers and the way that they kind of edited the way that she does this made her really interesting, and it was almost horror-like. Like she was a horror-style witch. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching it, but I thought that was cool in Age of Ultron. I liked what she brought to the character in Civil War. Liked what she brought to the character even more in Avengers Infinity War with her and Vision and their relationship. Looking forward to seeing more of this character. She's definitely the more interesting of the two twins, but not the most interesting Avenger in the world, so that's why she's a little bit lower on this list, but definitely better than Quicksilver. Number 16 is going to be Drax. Now, I knew nothing about this character, had no expectations whatsoever, especially since Dave Bautista was the one playing him, and he was one of the biggest surprises in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. The whole thing about taking everything literally and, you know, being the destroyer and this just person of rage that doesn't think about anything, he just runs at shit, and that was hilarious in the first movie. The second movie, I hated what they did with the character. Basically, he was just making fun of everything. Everything that he said was mean. He was just trashing Mantis the entire time like a jackass, and it just turned me off of the character in the second movie. Now, when you get into Infinity War, he does have some genuinely funny lines again, but it's basically reduced down to him just kind of being there for the occasional joke. He didn't really get this big, badass fight standout scene or anything. I mean, you got a character, Drax the Destroyer, and you barely showed him destroying any shit. So, big potential for this character to bump up once we see more of him. But what we've seen of him so far, loved it in the first outing, haven't cared too much for what I've seen in the second and third outing. Number 15 is Nick Fury. Now, this is a badass character played by a badass actor who has done some badass things in this movie universe, especially in Captain America Winter Soldier. The only reason why he's so low on this list is because the Marvel Cinematic Universe continuously forgets to use this fucking character. Nick Fury should show up in just about every single one of these movies. Damn sure better show up in every single Avengers or team-up movie like Civil War. The dude brought all these people together. The guy is the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., or what was S.H.I.E.L.D. The guy is the one who's kind of the patriarch of this entire universe, and you never really see him after the first Avengers. He pops up, obviously, in Winter Soldier, and the best use of that character. After that, he pops up once in a while in a post-credit scene and some other stuff. I feel like he should be a more prominent character. That's why he's down this low. But I love the character, love Samuel L. Motherfucker! That's why he's so low. Number 14 is going to be Falcon. A very, very good sidekick for Captain America. Very big potential for this character to grow even more throughout this series. Again, a lot of potential for all these characters. These are all great characters, really. There's nothing that I hate, absolutely. So Falcon, I like what Anthony Mackie brings to the character. I like his relationship with Cap. I like how he respects him, but he doesn't necessarily cower down to him. He kind of views him as his equal that just happens to have superpowers. And I like his little flight suit. I think that's cool. I like how they use him in AntMan. Fun character, fun sidekick for Captain America. I enjoy Falcon. Number 13 is the smallest member of this entire group, and that is Ant-Man. I'm a big Paul Rudd fan. I love what Paul Rudd does when Paul Rudd is on his game, and he's on his game with this character. Loved the first Ant-Man movie. Absolutely loved what they did with him in Civil War. He was one of the biggest stands out of the entire movie, shockingly, with all the awesome characters that they introduced in that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I love the humor. I love the powers. I love how they shoot the powers and how the whole camera tricks about making him small and then even making him Giant Man. I love how they pull all that off. Really entertaining character. Number 12 is Black Panther. Now, I absolutely loved the introduction of Black Panther in Civil War, and I am a fan of the Black Panther movie. It made my top 10 on my Marvel ranking. However, I feel like in the Black Panther movie, he was the least interesting of all the main characters. Everybody that they introduced us to in Wakanda, including Killmonger the villain, really overshadowed this character a lot. So I'm looking for a lot of room for this character to grow. Obviously, he's going to be around for a very long time, not just because financially he's one of the most successful characters they've ever had, but they got big plans for this character. We're going to see a lot more of him. And again, like I keep saying, big potential to move up on this list. So far, I like what I've seen of the character. Just I want to see more interesting stuff with him and not see him overshadowed so much in his own movie. Number 11, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. I've always been a huge Spider-Man fan. Love Spider-Man growing up. He's probably in my top 5 comic book characters of all time. Love it. Love the Raimi movies. All 3 of them. Yes, go ahead. Hate on me. I don't care. I like what Tom Holland brings to this character. I like this version, this MCU version of Spider-Man, an actual high school Peter Parker. I like his dynamic with the Groot, especially Tony Stark. Wasn't completely blown away by Spider-Man Homecoming. I didn't love what they did with all of his side characters. And even the whole thing with the Iron Man style Spider-Man suit really annoyed me. I just don't feel like Spider-Man should need all this technology. He's a badass superhero just with his powers. So that kind of rubbed me wrong. But overall, I do like the movie. I like all the MCU movies. But that's what kind of brings Spider-Man down a little bit. Even though he's in my top 5 characters of all time, or he probably will be. I have to do a ranking on that one too. But he's a little bit lower as far as the MCU just because I haven't seen enough of him yet, obviously. But what I have seen of him in the crossover movies is awesome, but in his own movie, I had a lot of issues with it. So we'll see what Spider-Man Homecoming 2 can bring, and if he does some really standout shit in the next Avengers movie. Number 10, I am Groot. Groot, again, one of the biggest surprises of Guardians of the Galaxy. You have a fucking walking tree that can only say 3 words continuously for the entire movie, and somehow they make that character one of the most emotionally gripping and satisfying characters in this entire universe. The whole "We Are Groot" scene, ugh, tears, people. Then you get Baby Groot, like the cutest thing in the freaking world. Now you got Teenage Groot, who's just, they haven't utilized him enough yet for me to say whether or not he's as entertaining as the other 2, but he's certainly entertaining. Just I am Groot, the whole little snarky thing, talking to adults, and the problem of authority thing. Groot is just endlessly entertaining, and they do so much with the character. The whole thing that he does in the first Guardians of the Galaxy with being kind of the Rocket the Raccoon's sidekick, and, you know, when he's beating the shit out of all those people in the hallway and he turns around and he just smiles. Like, all those little things just make me love that character so much. Groot is one of those characters that I really hope never leaves this universe. He's awesome. Number 9, might be controversial that I didn't put this guy in the villains list, but I've never seen him as a villain. Yondu. Yondu is one of my favorite characters in all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He was my absolute favorite part in the second movie, which I had a lot of issues with, but I loved his character. Loved Michael Rooker. Yondu is just badass. I mean, this dude, you can tell, even in the first movie when he's still more so of an antagonist, you could tell this dude's got heart. You can tell that he cares about Peter Quill. You can tell that he wants to do the right thing, but does a lot of wrong things to get there. He's just such an interesting, fascinating character to me that I really, really, spoiler alert, wish that we could have seen more of him before they killed him off in Volume 2. So the movie's been out for over a year. Get over it. But Yondu is just awesome. If there's any character in the MCU that I actually would want them to resurrect, because you guys have heard me bitch about them consistently having these fake deaths and resurrections, Bring back Yondu, baby. Come on. I will forgive all of that other shit. I will forgive the War Machine thing, the Nick Fury thing, all of that, if you just bring me back Yondu. Give me Yondu, please. Number 8 is going to be Black Widow. Still waiting on this character to get her own side story movie, and I will be there day one because not only do I love Scarlett Johansson, but this character is just badass. From the very first time that you see her in Iron Man 2, all the way through to Infinity War, she's just the baddest bitch that you have ever seen in your life. I mean, she's human. She has no superpowers whatsoever, and this might be a little bit bullshit, but I like it anyway. And she's taking on aliens and robots and frickin' Thanos' crew, whatever the fuck they called them. I mean, she's just battling them like, whatever, bitch, I'll still whoop your ass even though I ain't got powers. And I love it. It might not make any sense, but I love it. Black Widow's awesome. Cannot wait to see her finally get her own standalone story because she deserves it more than probably any other character in the MCU. Number 8. Number 7, welcome to the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy, Rocket Raccoon. Another character that I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I got Bradley Cooper's voice, that's always going to be entertaining. Rocket Raccoon is just awesome. He's snarky, he don't give a shit. He's really deep and broken on the inside, so he's much more of a kind of, he has more depth to him than you would think. But he has some of the best lines in every movie that he is in. Like the lines about, you know, oh, I'm going to get that eye and all that kind of stuff. All this interaction with Groot, whenever he's just making fun of Drax or making fun of Peter Quill. The whole thing about Trash Panda in the second movie, that was probably my favorite moment of that entire movie. I love Rocket Raccoon. And I loved his interaction with Thor in Infinity War. Again, one of the best parts of that movie is those two characters going back and forth. So Rocket Raccoon, you were awesome. Just above Rocket Raccoon is StarLord. Now again, knew nothing about this character. I love him though, because I love Chris Pratt. I love what he brings to the character. The character is basically 85% Chris Pratt, so maybe I just love Chris Pratt. But StarLord, what I love about him is that he's kind of dumb, but he's kind of awesome at the same time. I love his whole obsession with music, because that totally just plays into me. That's exactly how I would be if I was some kind of like a space fucking pirate. And I just love the whole thing about he's just trying so hard in the first movie to get people to know him as StarLord, this little like mysterious name, like, oh, StarLord got us again. And that scene whenever somebody finally comes in, StarLord, and he's like, finally. Like, so many things are awesome about the way that they write and the way that Chris Pratt performs this character. Love the character of StarLord. Number 5 is Hulk. Again, so disappointed that we cannot just get a fucking standalone Hulk movie because of all this rights bullshit. But every single time that I see the Hulk, especially since Mark Ruffalo's been playing him, not that I don't like Edward Norton's version, because I do very much, but I like what they've done with the actual Hulk side of the character much more since Mark Ruffalo took over in the first Avengers. Ever since we've seen the Hulk after the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, and especially in Thor Ragnarok, he is one of the most entertaining and most purely fun characters to watch in this entire MCU. He's badass, he's fun to watch, beat the shit out of everything. He's hilarious with the way that he talks and his kind of subtle, badass little sense of humor that he has. Love the Hulk, and I'm really hoping we can get rid of this rights bullshit because I do want to see a standalone Hulk movie. Come on. Number 4 is going to be the Winter Soldier. This is one of the most interesting characters in the MCU to me because he has had so much depth to his storyline since the first Captain America movie. He's this good guy who's taking care of his friend, who's very frail. Then obviously once his friend becomes Captain America and becomes the most badass dude in the world, he also kind of has to be his partner, his comrade and all that kind of stuff in the World War II setting. He accidentally dies in this tragic way, then comes back as this brainwashed assassin who just fucks everything up in his wake. Then he's got this brainwashing thing going on in Civil War where they're trying to bring him back and he's still just kind of on the run. He's like an anti-hero. Now he's kind of coming back more on the hero side. And Infinity War, just such a fascinating character, such a badass character. I mean, he could beat the shit out of most of these Avengers just because he has this kick-ass training and this metallic arm that just rips through everything. I mean, the Winter Soldier is one of my favorite characters. And it's probably because I love the Winter Soldier movie so much, but nonetheless, Winter Soldier, way to fuck up there, baby. Love this guy. Number 3 is a character that just recently shot up all the way towards the top of this list, and that is Thor. Not that I didn't like Thor before, but his movies were a little bit rocky. I like the first one, except for the Earth shit. I like the second one, except for the Earth shit. And then Thor Ragnarok came along, and that movie entertained the hell out of me and gave me everything that I would have wanted from this character and from Asgard and from the Hulk. And now, especially in Infinity War, when you get a lot more with Thor, with the whole thing about him making that axe and, you know, back and forth with him and Rocket Raccoon. Love Thor. Want to see so much more of this character. Endlessly entertained by Chris Hemsworth's performance in this. And I think that he's just one of the most likable and funny and charming characters in the entire MCU. So Thor, you rock. And now we're at the top two. No surprise to anybody. You got Iron Man and you got Cap. The two who are endlessly battling wills against each other. Who's going to come out on top this time? Number 2 is going to be Tony Stark, Iron Man. Now, I love what Robert Downey Jr. does with this character. This character brought us the MCU. This character brought us Robert Downey Jr. because the dude was just in cocaine heaven before this fucking movie came out. Iron Man is just one of those characters that is endlessly entertaining, awesome to watch. Always love seeing these new little upgrades they do to his suit. They're always badass. Especially just the writing. Just the comedic writing and the comedic delivery of Robert Downey Jr. is like one of the mainstays of the MCU and one of the most important pieces of these movies. And now you get into this thing where he's kind of starting to scale back a little bit. They're really finding some cool ways to still utilize the character, like in Civil War being kind of a, obviously still Iron Man and still doing some fighting, but doing a lot of espionage stuff, and as far as like, you know, being the person in front of the press and talking to the government and everything like that as far as the Avengers, kind of the spokesperson of the Avengers. And then in Homecoming, where he's kind of this mentor for Spider-Man. I mean, this is a character that if he ever leaves the MCU, if he does die in Infinity War or any movie after Infinity War, it's going to be like one of the most gut punch moments in the entire MCU, and people are going to freaking walk out with their hands in their heads needing some counseling because we love this character so much. Number 2 is Iron Man. But number 1, the reigning champ, the most badass, interesting, freaking kick-ass character in the entire MCU, probably one of my favorite superheroes of all time, specifically because of the movies that he has had on the MCU, and one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time star this guy, and that is Captain America. Never really knew much about this guy other than the fact that he carries around a shield and he's all about America before these movies came out. Wasn't a big comic reader. So then you get to Captain America, the First Avenger. I think he's one of the most emotional and one of the most interesting characters that they brought to the MCU at the time. You get to Winter Soldier, my favorite movie of the MCU, and to date is still my favorite superhero comic book movie of all time. I love that movie so much. Civil War, damn good, damn close to Winter Soldier. Didn't quite get there for me, but such an awesome movie, and just, again, just definitively a Captain America movie that just continues to grow that character. I love everything about it. I love the emotion of this character. I love the depth of the character. I think that he's badass. I love the look of him. I love what Chris Evans brings to this role. I mean, so much. I could gush for hours about Captain America. To me, he's the one that I'll always be on his side with. I don't care who he's fighting against. I don't care how much I love Tony Stark. If Captain America's on the other side of the table, I'm on that other side of the table too. Captain America, badass. You are the number 1 best MCU hero to this guy right here. Number 1, Captain America. Well, that's it, guys. All the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe ranked as far as which ones I like the most. Which are your guys' rankings? Or you can do a top 5 if you don't want to do all these characters. Perfectly understandable. There's a lot of them. Put your top 5, or you can do your entire ranking and be a badass. Down in the comment section below, guys. We'll talk some MCU heroes. Yeah! And be sure to check out my villains ranking and my MCU movies ranking. I ranked all 19 films and I ranked all the villains of the entire MCU. Let's talk about the MCU for this next week or so, guys, while we got Infinity War on the brain. Talk about that down in the comment section, guys. Like and share this video. Please hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Lots of cool stuff that you guys will enjoy down the line. If you want to check out some of my social media links, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my Spreadshirt store, and my Patreon page are all down in the video description below. Check those links out. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.